Welcome back to Leadership Blueprints, everybody, and welcome back to our November DoD to AEC episodes where we talk about transitions from the military service and talk to folks that are operating in and around the architect, engineering, construction, and facilities campus operations space. I am very excited. I had a text message exchange this morning with Adam Strait, who you may remember from 2 years ago was a guest on our podcast about this gentleman who he called a legend in the stadium facilities industry. Bill Squires, welcome to the show.
BJ, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Bill, I'm excited to dig in. Like I said, shout out to Joey Fay for connecting us, and Adam Strait, who had nothing but high praise for you. Very excited to talk about your career. We start every episode kind of getting to know you and your role today. So can you give us the elevator pitch on what it is you're doing today?
So I've got my first full-time job since 2002, last year. So I actually have a better boss than as self-employed. I think I have a better boss than when I was bossing myself. But right now I'm the Chief Venues and Operations Officer for the New York, New Jersey host committee for the FIFA 26 World Cup. So do a lot of work with transportation, the venues themselves, the operations. We're building a fan fest in Liberty State Park that's going to host 50,000 people a day for 39 straight days. So that's my day job. That's what I've been doing for the last year and a half.
Huge, huge undertaking. How did you end up? I imagine somebody referred you or somebody sought you out for that role.
No, it was strategic on my part. I did the '94 World Cup at Giant Stadium.
Okay.
And so, of course, I knew we're having a World Cup here in 2026. So in 2024, I reached out to the president and CEO of MetLife Stadium, who happened to be my assistant at Giant Stadium back in the early 90s. I said, okay, who are the leaders of this host committee, the 2026 New York, New Jersey? Gave me their names. I reached out to them. I sent them my CV. They did a pretty good background check on me, found out I knew a lot of people. And fortunately, those people they contacted, I think gave me favorable references. So they hired me, and so here I am.
Awesome. The interesting part of I think the stadium world is you have to wear two hats or understand two different pieces of an operation. One, you have to understand the operations and maintenance and sometimes capital project side, because you have ongoing renovations and all this stuff. So you have that side, and then you have the event side, which is security, logistics, hospitality. How did you end up? Take us back. How did you end up in this industry, and what attracted you to it?
Well, I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version, but I grew up in New Jersey. I played baseball, left-handed pitcher. People tell me I was pretty good at it. Recruited by Navy, ended up at the United States Naval Academy, not because of my good looks and my grades, but my 12-6 left-handed curveball. So it all started with baseball. And, I was a sports nut, just like a lot of kids were. I was hoping one day I could play, but I was good, but not that good. And so I found my calling to serve in the Navy. I became a Navy pilot. My last 2 years on active duty, I did 12 years active. In my last 2 years, I was on the USS John F. Kennedy. Excuse me. And I was a communications officer. So I always knew the ship's movements. And in January of 1986, I found that we're going to be going to Fort Lauderdale, Florida for spring, for a 4-day rest and relaxation period. That's where the Yankees had their spring training complex. So I approached my commanding officer. I said, sir, do you mind if I reach out to the Yankees and see if I can't get tickets for the crew? But in exchange, I want to invite the Yankees out to the ship, for a tour. Bill, go do your thing. So I was able to get arranged for 500 tickets. I had the Yankees out to the ship. I had Mr. Steinbrenner, the owner, his family, managers, coaches, players, and their families come out. Had a great day. Had a great day. The night of the game, I was sitting with Mr. Steinbrenner. I had my commanding officer throw out the first pitch. 500 white uniforms out there in the left field bleachers, and I just asked him, "How do you get in this industry?" And he took out a piece of paper and a pen. He wrote his home number. He says, "Call me. I want to hire you." So, I mean, And I teach my students up here at Columbia University, you don't ask, you don't know. And so here I am today. So I served another 12 years in reserves. I'm still very active with the Naval Academy. I sat on the board of trustees. I'm still on the board of trustees. I have my 50th reunion next week, which is pretty exciting. But that was it. It was I just asked a question, and I had a really difficult decision to make because I really loved what I was doing. But it's worked out well for me.
That's amazing. Did you immediately launch yourself as a self-employed business to the organization, or were you an employee first?
I was excuse me, I was an employee. So when I got out, off active duty, I was hired full time by the Yankees. So I worked for them for about 3 years before I moved on to other jobs. So
The uh, What do you think gave you the mindset? I mean, here you are, 12 years in the Navy. It sounds like what started out as just like a great morale day for the team and a pretty creative entrepreneurial officer saying like, "Hey, let me see if I can wheel and deal some tickets for the crew while we in exchange for, some um the invitation onto the ship and showing two different worlds. The Yankees get to see the Navy and the Navy gets to see some spring training. Was that inside of you the whole time, or did this just kind of evolve because the situation dictated?
yeah, I mean, I knew we were going to Fort Lauderdale. And like I said, I'm a Yankee fan. I mean, I was a huge, I still am a Yankee fan, but it was an opportunity. I think it was an opportunity, first of all, to take care of your crew. You're only as good as the sailors and soldiers and airmen and Marines that work for you, and you want to take care of them at any opportunity. So this was a great opportunity. And listen, I was the VIP escort officer on John F. Kennedy. So anybody of significance who came aboard, I would give the tours. So to offer a tour in return, and I mean, and the players and the coaches and fans, I mean, just loved it. I mean, it's a man of war, it's an aircraft carrier. And so I think both organizations really enjoyed the opportunity. But I just happened to ask the question because I was thinking maybe I'll do 20 years in the Navy, maybe get out, maybe work in sports. I had no clue that the gentleman, Mr. Steinbrenner, was going to give me his phone number and say, "Call me, I want to hire."
So what was this first job?
I was the assistant director of stadium operations with no experience. The Naval Academy, we're all operators, but there's no sports management programs. But it comes down to leadership and just entrusting people to do their job. But I was there for 2 months, and then my boss, who'd been there for 15 years, he was let go. And I was called to Mr. Steinbrenner's office, and he says, we just let so and so go, and we're going to make you the interim director of stadium operations, and you have 30 days to prove yourself. If I don't think you can handle the job, then I'll have to let you go too. And I was like, geez, I just got out of Navy. I was off terminal leave. I can't fail. And failure is just not an option. So I actually went home that night. I was sorry to see my boss go, but there's nothing I could do about it. But I packed a bag. I moved in giant on Yankee Stadium. I slept in the suite. I read everything in the drawers. I interviewed people, and I found out the most valuable resource I had was my secretary because she knew everything. She just didn't know she knew everything. So I had to ask her questions all the time. But I survived the 30 days, and I spent 3 years here with the Yankees.
That's amazing. Talk to for people that maybe not familiar with the sports management world or the stadium management world. Talk to us about all of the roles and responsibilities that fall under that office.
Well, it's talked before about capital budgets and events and whatnot, but I had the opportunity. I had the opportunity. I'm sorry. I had the opportunity to open three venues. I opened up ESPN Wide World of Sports down at Disney World, and then I opened up Cleveland Brown Stadium in 1999, and then I played a role in opening up MetLife Stadium in 2010. So, as a general manager of a building, responsible for everything. That's from parking and traffic to housekeeping to groundskeeping to food and beverage to merchandise to guest services to security, you name it. And then talking about renovations and capital improvements, you're responsible for those as well. So it's all encompassing. But it's making sure you put a good staff together. You teach them, you let them know what your expectations are, and then when they earn your trust, just let them go and do what they got to do. It's not that much different, I don't think, than in the military.
The the Vision that always comes to mind is when the lights went out at the stadium during the Super Bowl, and uh, I I always think of who is the guy or gal that is responding to the emergency right now. And it's the person that nobody ever thinks about during a football game until that happens.
Yeah.
Um, it's such a huge responsibility. Back to the idea of, all right, when everything's going right, everybody's just having a good time. You get in and out of the stadium safely. You have a couple of beers. Maybe somebody bitches about parking. Uh, but when things go wrong, that really is, that comes back to you and your office. What are some leadership lessons that you took from, you talked about it's a lot like the military. What are some leadership lessons you took from the military that you apply in your career in the stadium business?
Um, there's probably two things right off the top of my head. As a plebe at the Naval Academy, the first day you learn the five basic proper responses. And it's aye, yes, sir, no, sir, I'll find out, sir, no excuse, sir. And of course, you put ma'am in there today.
Yep.
And the two that are really important are I'll find out and no excuse. So you're accountable. You don't make excuses. And I think the other one is the seven P's. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And that's something we all do in the military. That's something I do. I in my life is I go to bed at night and I think about everything I got to do the next day. And I never get to everything I got to do because the phone calls, texts, and emails start coming. But I'm a planner, and I think that's like West Point grads, Air Force, Navy, and we plan. We plan for what we think is going to happen, and we actually, when talking about this World Cup stuff we're doing now, we're planning for things that you would never even think of. It's just amazing. So I think the other thing too is being able to make a decision. I think it's too often in this world that you work with somebody who just can't make that decision. And you think of the decisions that you and I had to make when we were in the service and we had, young enlisted people working for us. We're like the moms and dads, like they're our kids. And we have to make decisions to make sure that they're safe and secure. And so, listen, I made a lot of decisions in my life in the civilian world and probably in the Navy that weren't probably the right decision. But with the information I had at that time, I was able to make a decision. So being decisive, I think, is a great leadership quality that I wish more people had.
When did you make the decision to go from an employee to a consultant,
That
building
was in
your
two,
own little business?
that was in 2002. I was a state employee. And I just knew that I always wanted to become a consultant. I always felt I could do more. And so in 2002, I started my own business. I actually worked, my first two clients were the Giants and New York Jets. And then I broadened that. I've done a lot of different things as a consultant. I've worked 11 Super Bowls, three F1 races, done a lot of different special events. I do a lot of expert witness work where I defend venues and teams from what I consider frivolous lawsuits. I teach a couple graduate courses at Columbia University. So I've kept busy. There's no doubt about it. And I have no plans of ever retiring. I mean, I don't consider what I do, to be work. It is work, but it's fun. I think anybody wakes up in the morning and can't wait to start the day, and they're blessed that they have the life that I have. It's just thrilling to me. So I have the full-time job now, but when the World Cup's over next July, I'm already starting to think about, okay, what do I do next? Because I won't retire. I can't spend all day long with myself. I'm getting my own nerves.
Back to being a hard boss to work for, right?
Yeah,
Um, Let me see. There's something else I wanted to ask you. Sorry.
no problem.
Oh, it seems like as you launched in a consultant, you said you knew there was something more you could be doing. Sounds like everything you touch broadens your relationships, broadens your experience, broadens your expertise, and just continues to feed the loop to make you a more valuable consultant. So, I mean, sometimes our ability as a consultant is because we had that experience or that lesson or that failure 5 years ago, and I can help you avoid it next time. Sometimes it's I can pick up a phone call and just about anybody is going to answer my ask. Did you go about that intentionally, or was it just naturally coming to you that, hey, every step I took, I built more relationships, I got more experience, and I had more value to give, so I needed an outlet to give more value?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, it was a little scary when I started my own company, but I knew before I started my own company I was going to have some clients. So I wasn't just going to quit everything I was doing and try and figure it out. I had thought about it, and but it's listen. One of the strengths I think the good Lord has blessed me with is I've seemed to have crossed paths with so many unique people in my lifetime. And I have lifelong relationships. I mean, two of my best friends are guys I met when I was 9 years old, played Little League baseball. To this day, we're still best friends. And the Navy connection, the Army connection, your classmates and your company mates. I'm still very, very, very close to all of them. But in the professional world, I participate in a lot of advisory boards. I go to a lot of conferences, and I always get asked. On a survey, what was the best thing about the conference? I said, easy, seeing old friends and making new friends. That's what it's all about for me. Um, I have a tattoo on my wrist that I got a few years ago, and it's faith, family, friends, and that's what I live by. I have faith, and I have an unbelievable family, and I have just terrific friends. And not friends, that are casual friends. I mean, we're talking about friends that are real friends.
Yeah.
And then I have a lot of professional acquaintances who I respect, and I think they respect me. So it's made my consulting business pretty easy for me.
I'm going to ask you a question that maybe not prepared for, but I think you'll naturally answer it. You're in the academic environment. Is it master's level or bachelor's
Yes,
level
master's
coursework?
level.
All
Yeah,
right.
master's. Yeah.
Um, so I think similar to, somebody that's taking a master's, they're trying to take some new step or broaden their horizon or increase their expertise. A lot of military veterans are bringing all this experience that they got in the military and now trying to, whether it's reinvent themselves or just find their next mission. What is something that you always tell or advice that you always want to give to your students, regardless of the coursework that you're teaching, right? There's technical content I'm sure you're talking through and experience, but what's the advice that you want to give to those professionals that are in your classroom trying to become somebody new?
Well, I tell you, there's three things I teach them on day one, and it's from my experience the day that I gave that tour the arrangement with the New York Yankees. One is if you don't ask, you don't know. That's
Yep.
number one. Number two, you never know who's watching. I realized, I think maybe about a year after I got hired by the New York Yankees, that day that I gave that tour, that Mr. Steinbrenner was watching me closely. And I think somehow he was impressed with the tour that I gave. And then the third thing is, I had to make the decision, the difficult decision of getting out of the Navy to go work for the Yankees. Um, I got the old legal pad with the pros and cons, six pack of tall boy Budweisers, and just started writing pros, cons, pros, cons, pros, cons. And listen, I really loved what I was doing in the Navy. I mean, but I also knew that I could continue my career in the reserves. And then it came down to after I got all these pros and cons, I wrote the word regret, colon. And that was it. Was I going to regret getting out? Was I going to get, not taking this opportunity?
Hmm.
So it's not having any regrets. And I think I tell the students too that be passionate. If you have a passion for what you want to do, not everybody's going to graduate from Columbia and get a job the next day in sports, but they have to pay the bills. So get a job, but still continue to chase your passion. Don't give up on it. And you get out there and like, well, I'm gonna a forum today, a sports management forum, 500 plus people here. Many of them are current students, and a lot of them are alumni. So don't give up. It's like, you just don't quit. You keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. No regrets.
What is your favorite or biggest leadership challenge or leadership success that you've experienced across that portfolio of projects and operations you've run?
Wow, I never thought about that. Listen, I've been involved with many significant events. Like I said, I did World Cup 1994. I did a Pope John Paul II visit at Giant Stadium. I've done numerous college football games, numerous all kinds of events that you could think of. Um, I guess leadership wise, it's kind of like we're talking about Coach Holmgren before we got on the call today. It's kind of look at your tree, look
Hmm.
at the people who've worked with you, and look what they're doing now. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a young man who was an intern for me at Walt Disney World at ESPN Wide World of Sports, and I asked him one day, he was a Duke graduate. I asked him what do you want to do uh, with your life? Where do you want to be 10, 15, 20 years from now? And he says, I either want to be an athletic director or I want to be a football coach. So I got a job at Cleveland Brown Stadium and I called him up. I said, I want you to be my assistant. He says, hey, I don't know anything about running a stadium. I said, you think I knew anything about running a stadium when I got out of the Navy? I'm going to teach you, but you need to come. So he came. And a long story, he eventually, I think his claim to fame is he recruited Saquon Barkley to Penn State. How about that? Eagle fan?
Wow.
You're welcome for Saquon Barkley.
Thank
And
you.
now he's the quarterback's coach for the New York Jets. So he's worked with the Seattle Seahawks, he's worked with the Bears, he's worked with the Tennessee Titans, he's worked with the Atlanta Falcons, and now he's with the Jets. So to watch a young person like that grow, and it was funny when he got interviewed for a job. He actually interviewed for the offensive coordinator job with the Cleveland Browns last year. And when they found out that well, I left, he became the stadium manager. And they're like, holy crap, we're in for you for a job to be offensive coordinator and you know how to run a stadium? He goes, yeah, I'm pretty kind of unique in what I do. So it's looking at that tree that you have. And I have many people that I've worked with that I've seen them just grow and succeed and I'm so proud of them. So
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah.
Switching gears, some rapid fire questions. Are you any books in your library that are favorites?
Oh yeah. Make Your Bed by General McCraven. I'm Admiral
Yeah.
McCraven. That's I tell everybody to read that book because it'll give you a good outline for life. And it's such an easy read. I don't read. I read a lot of professional stuff, a lot of sports related. For my course, I have to do that to stay on top of my game. But when I do read, I like to read about you know heroes. POWs. I went through SEER school. I'm not sure if you know what SEER school is, but
Yeah.
yeah. And prior to going to SEER school, all my heroes were athletes. And those 5 or 6 days of SEER school it came out to be all POWs. I mean, the Medal of Honor recipients and the POWs that in this world that and those who sacrificed their lives for this country, those are my heroes. And I felt pretty shallow when I finally realized what am I? I mean, athletes, yeah, they can be you can like watching them play, but are they really heroes? No, they're not. But when I do read any kind of recreation read, it's always about military stuff.
I would love to hear what are there any common folk books in your coursework? You said that you have to read a lot. I would just be curious,
You know,
what's a top read on the syllabus inside of the
that's a
program
great
there?
question. So the first year I taught the class, I had 3 hardbound textbooks, and I gave a homework assignment for every class. And as we all should do, is my first, I mean, I've taught, and I was an instructor pilot in the Navy, but this is a little bit different. This was in an academia in a classroom. And after that first semester, I did a self-evaluation and I gave myself a D, and that's a Delta, D plus. And I think I was kind of generous. I didn't do a good job. So now my goal was, okay, Bill, you got to continue to teach this course until you can give yourself an A. And right now, after 19 years, I got an A minus. I don't want to give myself an A, but then you get complacent and you're not really striving to be the best that you can be. And plus, when I was in Naval Academy in high school, I was fine with a B. I was absolutely fine with a B. So I don't need that A. So the course has changed in 19 years. Now there's only 7 homework assignments. I learned quickly as my classroom size grew, the more work I gave them, homework I gave them, the more work I gave myself. And I was giving them busy work. So I stayed away from the busy work and I gave them work assignments that really matter. And now it's a magazine called the Sports Business Journal. That's the only thing they have to read. And it's something they should read. They want to get in the industry. I don't care if it's in sponsorships, marketing, athletic departments, or what I do. It's a journal that they have to read weekly to keep up with everything that's going on.
Awesome. How about favorite quotes?
Favorite quotes. We started talking a bit earlier about my COVID experience, but after my experience, remember one day I was given plasma, to help others that had COVID because I had the antibodies in my plasma, and I was in there in the waiting room one day, and I heard a woman talking about her son who was in a car accident and survived, but was really, working hard to recover. And she has this phrase: "If you have a pulse, you have a purpose."
Mhm.
So in my emails, before you see my name, it's the last thing before you see my name, in quotes, it says, "If you have a pulse, you have a purpose." And everybody's got to figure out what that purpose is. But I live by that. I probably have a lot of other quotes, but that's the one that comes top of mind. But that's the one that really matters to me.
That's great. If you could have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Oh, boy. Well, it'd be Mickey Mantle again because he was my guy growing up. Um, wow, that's a really good one. I mean, there's one athlete that I no, I'll stay away from the athletes. Let me think. Jeez, that is a great question. Oh, well, I get John Basilone. Do you know the name Basilone?
I don't.
Yeah, John Basilone was in the Army, got out in the 30s, and went to the Marine Corps in the 40s. Received the Medal of Honor at Guadalcanal. Came home and was selling bonds, but he didn't want to do that. So went back, served, and he received the Navy Cross posthumously at Iwo Jima. I
Wow.
mean, just a real hero. So there's two. Um, wow. I'm drawing a blank. I mean, those two would be at the top of my list. There's got to be a third one out there somewhere. Um, let's keep talking. I'll come up with it while we're
All
talking.
right. Well, maybe this one will help because I'm going a little bit off script here, but you talked about being a baseball player. You're in the sports world. Douglas MacArthur had a quote that we had to memorize at West Point. Upon the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that upon other fields on other days will bear the fruits of victory. We talk leadership. We talk the built environment and career paths. What do you take from the sports experience that you think teaches the most about leadership?
Well, I was a blue and gold officer at the Naval Academy for 32 years. And so I've worked with a lot of young people that matriculated either to Navy, Army, Air Force, ROTC programs. And the one thing there's a statistic out there for Naval Academy. I'm sure it's similar with West Point Air Force. Is that 91% of those who go to the service academies receive the letter in their sport or respective sports. So it shows you we're looking for people that are somewhat athletic and physical conditioning. And 68% of them were captains of their sports.
Mhm.
So here comes the leadership part that we're all looking for. We could teach them calculus, we could teach them a bunch of things, but leadership is kind of I don't think it can really be taught. I think you can observe and you can learn from it, but I don't think it can really be taught. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question correctly, but I know that I grew up as a pretty good baseball player. I was captain of my team. I wasn't a high-ranking midshipman. I was an average midshipman, but once I got to my first duty station, I knew here I am. This is what all this training's taken me. Now I got to be the best that I can be, the possibly best that I can be. So we're a little different, I think, because we strive for perfection. Never achieve it, but we always try to strive for perfection. And I think I'm a leader by example, not so much by what I say, but it's more about what I do. When it would snow at Giant Stadium back in the 90s, I would go out there and shovel. I was boss of the stadium, and I'm out there shoveling snow, with my laborers, because if not me, then who? You know,
Mhm.
um, and they see me shoveling out there and cold, and they're going to shovel right along with me. Did I answer your question? I hope.
You did.
Okay.
And anything we didn't cover that you want to make sure we hit on?
Yeah. It's coming out of my COVID experience that I had a near death experience with COVID. And when I survived it, I was away from my family for 71 days. I was in a hospital, I had to go to therapy, I was on a ventilator for 32 days. And when I survived it, I tried to figure out why did I live and all these other people died. Um, and it's a life changing. It's just absolutely life changing. I look at things so differently. When I'm walking, I hear birds. I focus on these birds because the first time I heard birds, I cried. I said, "My God, I'm alive." But it's a life thing that I teach people because I get asked, "So what did you learn from your experience?" And there's a lot of stuff, but there's three things. One, gratitude. Be grateful for everything. Even be grateful for the tough times in your life because the tough times in your life make the good times in your life even better. Attitude. Attitude is something you can control. I couldn't imagine waking up every day and being in a bad mood or complaining about stuff or bitching and moaning and crying. No, I wake up in the morning, okay, God, what do I have today? A good day or a great day? That's how I start every day. And I've not had a bad day since I was sick. I've had good days, I've had great days, but no bad days. Bad days are just not allowed. And then the third thing is just be nice to people.
Mm.
Just be nice to people. I ask people all the time, like, have you ever been nice to somebody? And they go, well, I think I have. And I go, well, how do you think they felt? They said, well, I think they felt pretty good. I said, well, how did you feel? They go, well, I felt good. I said, well, that's a free drug. You don't have to inhale it. You don't have to drink it. You don't have to smoke it. But you're high all day long if you're just nice to people. And that's a problem we have in this world today. We're not nice to each other and we need to be nice. Simple.
Amazing. Bill, I think this is 40 minutes of a lot of wisdom. Really appreciate you taking the time to share your career with us and to share your all of your experiences with us. Thank you so much.
Well, you're down in Philly, right?
Yes, sir.
Come on, take a trip up to MetLife Stadium. I'll give you a tour. We'll go to lunch.
That's a deal.
All
I
right?
look forward to it.
All right, my man. BJ, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Bill.
Take
Hey,
care.
everybody. If you're enjoying our show, please like, subscribe, share it with other people that you think might get value. In particular, this month of November, we're saluting our veterans. Anybody that's transitioning off active duty might get value out of hearing Bill and our other episodes, our other interviews. Till next time, have a great week and a great weekend.